for warwear.com.
Videos I love. Okay, so today I am going to be joined by someone that's very dear to my heart. In the year 2001, I think, I had just gotten a job to work as a head of media and tape ministry for Pastor Mrs. Bimbo Dukoya. Like I said, we're supposed to have Mrs. Nika Ogunlesi today. She'll be with us next week. She had an important trip, urgent trip to Istanbul. So 2001, I got hired to work for the late Bimbo Dukoya and her husband as the head of media and tape. Now, I was fresh from school. I was running away from home. I was running away from home because my dad wanted me to go to the seminary, right? And he felt that I was the one to replace him as an Anglican priest. So I left home, ran away. And why did I run away? I had seen the way, we were treated growing up. The fact that consistently, they frequently moved us. My father was always being transferred. I didn't like that. And the fact that what church provided was what we lived by. So if we were given a house that was bed bug infested, you had to manage because to the Anglican priest, the calling was a vocation. It was not a job. So they endured a lot of things. I didn't want that. So I ran away from home, joined the fountain staff. And one day, a young lady walked in. She was, I think it was in secondary school, fresh from secondary school, and she walked in. I looked at her audacity. She was very slim, but what she was talking was bigger than her. And we got close. And I remember that one day, after we got close, we'll be on phone calls for several hours talking about the future, talking about she'll ask me, what would you be doing for the future? I'll ask her, what will you be doing? And we'll talk about this future that we live in right now. And one day, she came to my office to look for me. And typical of me, I'm very expressive. I love to hug. And I remember I tried to hug her. And she was stone cold. And right there in front of everyone, she said to me, I do not hug guys. I froze. I felt that was a lack of emotional intelligence. Even though she's the exponent of emotional intelligence now, but I was embarrassed. But I had to respect her wish, But over time, I've come to appreciate her because she dictated her call, right? But we've remained friends. We will fight. If there's anyone that will come into my DM and say, Praise, you are very stupid for what you have done, she's one person. And if there's anyone that our mother can report her to and say, come and call this person to order, I'm the one, I could insult her and we can go our ways for 1 month. Then we'll come back and say, oh, you fuck up, and things like that. So, House of Saviors, make welcome Onye Consola Alabi, popularly known as the Emotions Doctor. We're going to be looking at living life without apologies. Onye Consola, where are you? Where are you hiding?
Here, Praise. I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you for
let me look for you. So, okay, good. So I've seen you so that I can spotlight you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
At spotlight. Okay, good. Bad girl, what are you doing here?
I am here.
Okay. Onye Consola, it's been a long. Why did you not hug me that day?
I can't even remember.
Public apology. You wrote me a public apology.
I can't even remember.
That was a lack of emotional intelligence. So in front of everybody, can you apologize? Since you have now repented.
I can't even remember the script, but I am sorry.
Okay. It's so good to have you here. This House of Saviors, we meet every Sunday and, we talk critical issues, deep issues, and we believe that we can raise and inspire a new generation of innovators, out of Africa and wherever they are, to become solution providers everywhere they go. They have to be saviors, basically. That's why we do this. So it's so good to have you here. We're looking at living life without apologies. And if there's anyone who have epitomized that, I think it's you. You are a pastor, you sing, then you now dye your hair as a pastor, as a Nigerian who works under another pastor. Then you will go and be swimming and be snapping yourself and be doing funny things that is out of order in our what we are used to, right? And you wear red lenses. Sometimes you even do yoga, and we are wondering if you have left the faith or if you are still in the faith, and you don't appear to send anybody. Right. Now, my first question to you, what does it mean to live life without apologies?
Okay, so living life without apology for me was what led me to the title Soul Stripper. So at every point in time, I asked myself that if I die today, will I have any thought about omitted missions, or will I feel like all the gifts that I have explored them? And I asked myself that question. It was one reason why I went to the studio last year and I recorded a song. I paid $800 for the studio, for the video, for the producer, everything. And the reason was because I missed singing. And I said to myself, I do not have to wait to have a stage. I can create a stage for myself and everywhere that I go. So I made the payment, showed up at the studio, did my song, and I said, yes, this is how I feel about it. There are a handful of other things that I desire to do, but I so strip myself at every point in time. And I do that. If it's not monthly, I will do that quarterly. So quarterly, I dress myself up and I sit down with myself and I ask myself that question. Emotionally, am I where I should be? Now, I don't understand. I see that people try as much as possible to create boxes for people. And sometimes it is okay. People, when you own a territory, you create a code of conduct and so many things around it, and it's fine. But when your code of conduct is clashing with the code of conduct of my life, it is my responsibility to exit.
Hmm. Hmm.
It is
Hmm.
my responsibility to exit because I will respect your territory. If it is your territory, I will respect it. So I have come to understand. I deal with everyone. We all have clients who do not, who are not like us. So an example will be people show up at my office, and there are people that ordinarily Nigerians will write off. When I say to them, I can understand them without agreeing with them. So right now, both of us are in the US, and I've met people who say they are ENM. ENM here means ethical non-monogamy. So they are married, but their spouses know that they are having sex with a particular person. So you are not cheating. In their own dictionary, it's not cheating. As long as the spouse knows the name of the person and everything about the person. So they call it ethical non-monogamy. I've met polyamorous, different set of people. Now, do they make sense to me? No, but are they senseless? Maybe not necessarily. So something may not make sense to you, but it doesn't make it senseless. And I respect whatever they want to do. I respect it. I don't agree with it. We're 8 billion people in the world. So I am not expected to supply a code of conduct to the world. I'm not expected to dampen or force whatever I want to become, on somebody else. So for me, I ensure that I soul strip myself. I ask myself that question. Am I happy with the results, with the report card of my life? I have a report card. I have an emotional report card. I have a financial report card. If you see how I save and I invest, I have a physical report card. When I check myself and I say to myself, I'm not part of Fit Farm. I don't want to slim down or disappear. Anybody who wants it is okay. I like what I look like and I'm maintaining it, and I check my mental report card also. Do I like how I think? What percentage of my thoughts do I own? Or am I simply regurgitating what other people are saying? So those are the conversations that I have. And that's how I arrived at the title Soul Stripper, because I genuinely desire to go to bed every night and I'll say, oh, today, the 12th of December, you lived. Not just that the day passed, you lived. I also have a habit for eating what I love to eat. So I don't know how to eat too many things. But some people already know what makes me happy. And I eat the food that gives me joy. So we buried our dad 3 days ago. And I remember after that, some people reached out to me and said, "Oh, how am I doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm honestly on my way out to just go and shop to make jollof rice and chicken." And I ate jollof rice, chicken, and coke. And it made me happy. Like I have found the tiniest ways to happiness, not necessarily major ways. The tiniest ways. Pepper snail gives me happiness. So for me, happiness and success is personal. What is success to you may not be success to me.
Onyeko,
Yeah.
let me halt you there. You
Okay.
touched on an important point on
Mm.
people creating a code of conduct for the rest of the world.
Mm.
I mean, that's almost like the norm in Africa, for example. Everybody seems to have an opinion on how they think you should live. So, for example, if I lead House of Saviors now, and I feel like going on 7 days fast, I would insist everybody goes on 7 days fast, even if 7 days fast is not the pathway to their happiness. I'll sentence them. They can't argue with me. They've come to elevate and respect me. They will be forced to conform. So they are struggling. They are looking at the time, hoping that the time day runs by so that they can quickly eat. Meanwhile, I'm having a nice time because I'm the one who wanted the fast anyway. Now, you realize that people struggle to break away from the suppliers of the code of conduct that they have submitted to, over time. Why do you think people struggle to break free? Why do they struggle? Because a typical person can actually live happy. But why do they struggle to live without apologies? Why? What is the thinking behind that behavior that says, "Oh, I would really love to do what this person, but I can't do it because of what this person would say"? Why do people struggle?
One of the things I've discovered, especially in my line of work, is the fact that I've observed that it is easier for people to receive instructions than to think. Thinking is work. So it is easier to say, "PF said, my pastor said," than to sit down and think. So that is the reason why, even when you go on social media, you look at it and then we begin to ask ourselves questions. How many people are original thinkers that you will look at? So one of the things I did after studying emotional intelligence abroad and all that, I sat myself down and I said to myself, if you bring this emotional intelligence I studied abroad to Lagos, it will not work. So there are some fundamentals that will work, but the execution will not work. In a country where lawlessness is what we celebrate, anyhowness is what works. And in Nigeria, one of the things you must not become is to be poor. Become everything but poor. That's the only sin that you must not partake of in Nigeria, because Nigeria is run by money and power. Once you lack both, to some extent, you will be powerless, because you must move like an African thunder in Nigeria. "Do you know who I am?" must be your permanent slogan. So if you cannot launch "Do you know who I am" conduct in your car, in your accent, in your money, in your bullying, doing good in Nigeria is almost criminal. They don't understand it. So why do I think that it is easier for people to regurgitate than to sit down and think? Because it is work. So let me give an example. When I used to be active in church as a pastor, so definitely every month we have what you will call the maybe theme of the month, and then days to fast and those things. And then I would fast religiously, but I saw that me and 6 o'clock were Siamese twins. Before the 6 o'clock, I'd have made my food, I'd have prepared a table before myself, right in front of my enemies, and then I'll be counting down. So there was one day, and I told myself, who is forcing this fast? who am I deceiving? So I now told myself that, you know what, when they call for a fast, it is my responsibility to know what I want to fast about. So I redefined fasting to myself. So fasting for me was not escaping food. Fasting for me may be escaping social media.
Hmm.
It may be reading my Bible more. It may be me praying more. The moment I got into redefinition, I became more effective.
Wow.
And the irony of it was the moment I could redefine it, I found out that I wasn't as hungry as I used to be. You know, it is the days that they call you to fast that you wake up hungry. I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah.
You know, you just wake up and the spirit of jollof rice is upon you, and you're like, who did I offend? You know, and then you begin to hustle to the 6 p.m. You know, and then if you're not careful, you will drink water, you will lick sweets, you will do everything tied to chewing gum, sweet, under the guise of, I don't want to have mouth odor. You know, you shall be romancing yourself till 6. The day I redefined it, I became more effective. So I have just come to understand that it is just easier. And you know, sometimes even at pastor's meeting, when we have a meeting and then my pastor says something, everybody just says, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. I know I just sit there and I'm wondering that, how is this yes, sir, easy to supply? Because my own brain does not work like that. You know, so I then begin to ask questions. And then, you know, I now begin to see them staring at me. And I'm like, wait, when we were ordained for a reason. We were ordained because our pastors noticed that we had sense. So after ordination, did you give your sense away as an offering? You know, and then by the time I come up and I, you know, ask questions or suggest or something, sometimes it looks like, oh, you're the only one who is talking. But because of my reputation and all of that, they now would say, oh, okay, that makes sense. Let's do this, let's do that. And I remember sometimes they would ask me after the meeting, that why is it that you always have something to say? And I'm like, I don't always have something to say. But when he says something, I think that it is just fair that if there's a reason to give feedback, we should offer feedback. It is unkind that we are expected to be working with him, but he's the only one who uses his brain. He's not our brain consultant. He's not our brain consultant. You are on the board or you are serving him for a reason. If you don't want to serve him with your brain, then leave the place. You don't have to be you can just be a member of the church. But when you are a leader, you are expected to serve with your brain. But when you leave your brain and then you now show up, isn't there a problem? Or is it that you are scared of the content of your head? I know the content in my head. And I'm aware that it is very sensible. So I will suggest the content. Suggestion does not mean you would accept it. So it's not that you are forced to accept, but I can suggest something to you. So it's one of the reasons why I think that it is just easier to have a cop out. A cop out is my pastor said. A cop out is Praise for always said. A cop out is they said. But once you desire to do the hard work, thinking is work. This house of saviors, it will not come from an ordinary mind. Your vision, your mission, your tribe is not from an ordinary mind. Come on, even see how you dressed. When I saw you today, I was like, 3 layers, the praise war.
Get out of here. You.
This is how saviors dress.
You're not well. Let's not bring our matter to this meeting, Iko. You know you and okay. So let me stop you because I am the moderator before you insult me further. Okay, now Onyekon, let me be the people's advocate. I mean, I don't know why people want to be the devil's advocate or Jesus' advocate or something. I want to be the people's advocate here. You work with a typical leader. You never, I mean, who can't stand your thoughts. It can't stand your contrary opinion. I mean, I've worked where you've worked, and I've worked somewhere else. And I remember that there was a year my pastor said it's a year of taking territories, and I walk up to him to say, how do we take territories within 12 months? And I asked him, what territory are we going to take exactly? God has said it's a year of taking territory. Can we take political territory this year? There's no election, so that's gone. Can we take economic territory? I plan to produce billionaires. You know, we can't take that. Can we take entertainment territory, which determines culture. Are we planning to buy DSTV or take media territory? And my pastor was looking at me and he said he's never thought about it. And I said, there are parameters which you can measure. Is it possible that God wants us to stay on this taking territory for the next 3 years or 2 years? The next year, my pastor did not declare it's our year of anything, you know. And so for me, it was easier to question my pastor because, you know, it's someone that uses his brain a lot of time, you know, and it doesn't do, you know, mystery kind of thing. It's very methodical in his thinking. How do people, you work under maybe a boss or maybe a leader who cannot stand a contrary opinion and who will perceive your contrary opinion as you are a rebel or you are sent by the devil and people are looking at you one kind? How do people literally cope in that, under that circumstance?
Okay, so I'll give my personal example. And to be fair, the way a part of Nigeria is designed, it is not designed to be questioned. So one thing I've noticed is the same way we say that we're asking questions, if you're not careful, some leaders think asking questions is questioning them, you know. And then there are some who cannot take feedback, you know, and it is a very dangerous place to be, but people exist there. So I'll give an example. Last week, somebody said something to me, and what the person said to me was what I told the person 9 months ago. And I remember thinking to myself that the person is a leader. And the person said to me, you don't give me feedback about myself. And feedback is the last thing I personally offer people, maybe because of my job. So I'm not quick to come to you to say something or suggest or advise. I'm not interested really. You know, so this person said to me, please be giving me feedback. And the first feedback I gave the person 9 months ago is what the person is still hurting over 9 months after. And the irony is, I gave the feedback in a very kind way. Kind in the sense that that is how I would desire to receive the feedback. You know, and I'm saying to myself that I will not give this person feedback again. Because when I say feedback, you savour appreciation. You are obsessed with appreciation. But when people show up and tell you something that is not as cute as you expected, it hurts you so much. And whether you like it or not, it is your ego. You know, so there are some leaders that no matter what, they would always be who they are. You know, they will not receive feedback and those things. And they are already set in their ways. So if they are 50, it's a 50-year-old problem. And it is what it is. Their parents have tried, it didn't succeed. The spouse might have tried, it didn't succeed. The children might have tried, it didn't succeed. Teachers might have tried, it didn't succeed. Then you that are coming, and then they can afford to lose you as a member, to be fair. Especially if you are not a fundraiser or you are not the one who drops the highest amount of money. So they can afford to do that. But there are some also that, even though they are stoic in their ways, our style of delivery may also make it easier for them. So I'll give an example. Now, I come from a place where it depends on the mood. So sometimes the mood for feedback is good. Sometimes the mood for feedback is not particularly good. And it's totally fine. All of us have mood swings. Sometimes we are visited by unpleasant emotional experiences, you know. So yeah, it works. But one thing I've come to understand is that instead of asking questions in front of other people or whatever it is, after the meeting, I can send a message to request for a call or a conversation. And because this person now feels a little safer, especially when you're dealing with someone that has different, you know, people around and all that, they may just feel a little safer, and then you can have the conversation. And the irony of it is that once you have the conversation, they will take the glory for it. They won't go back to say that, oh, praise called me to say. You know, so after the conversation, they may just go back and say, oh, I thought about this thing and I think we should do it like that. And the truth about it is that you are the originator. But once we lay down ego, we may be able to get ahead in some ways. So that is the way I have been able to get some things done. You know, I remember both of us having a conversation about me suggesting therapy to somebody. And I told you that, oh, I would find a way around it. And I did. And we're getting some level of success. But the style of delivery and all of that was it was very subtle. So I never said it in English. It was just through care, through care, through care. And the person said to me that it's like you're offering me therapy. And I smiled because that is how to get that kind of adult in that kind of country. So cultural intelligence is very key. There are some who, no matter what you do, you may not have a way, and then you may have to exit to find people of your kind, leaders that receive feedback and those things. Yes, those people are there. There are some that if we tweak it a little bit, we may have some level of success. And another thing that I found out is that when you, as a person, when you have attained some level of success, people listen to you to some extent. That's what I've observed. That is what I've observed. Yeah. So sometimes it is coming from a place of who do you think you are? When they now discover that you have become something, it is easier. It's the same way you have shown up at places, and the same people who weren't listening to you are the people now who lay claim over you.
Yeah.
And the way you are now is different from who you were then. And it's understandable. So if you say something now, there's a tendency they will listen. They will listen because time has delivered more results. You had results before.
Yeah.
But time has delivered more results. And then even in their sight, you have been consistent in delivering excellence. So to some extent, we may have to cut people some slack. It's the same way you may not take a random advice from a random person. And it is not that you are condescending. But if some kind of people call you, you will most likely listen to them because they won't call you often. So there are different dynamics to these things. Sometimes it's the fact that we have earned that right, and we must be humble to accept it. That, 10 years ago, I wasn't where I am now. I know some people that if I had said some things to them 10 years ago, they would not have listened. Now, they would intentionally call me. I still did one for somebody 4 days ago. He said, I was about to do something in the media, and 2 members of my team said, I must reach out to you to read this document and look for loopholes. In my field, we call it consequential thinking. And I pointed out some loopholes to them that if you say this, they will come for you here, they will come for you here, they will come for you here. And they didn't see it like that because it was drafted by a lawyer. A lawyer is not an organizational psychologist, not an emotional intelligence practitioner. The lawyer would write what is according to the law. And finally, it will be a cop-out because hardly do lawyers take responsibility, except they are paid to do that, really. So those are the dynamics. I think that we should have mercy on people who are stoic and set in their ways because, they're not in our generation. Our own generation will ask questions. Their generation is a generation of silence. So when you are troubleshooting someone who understands silence, it is strange. So the way my relationship with my mom is different from our firstborn's relationship with my mom. I speak with my mom. And I know that at some meetings, sometimes my siblings will just be looking like, this girl, but she appreciates it because I just tell her the truth. That, oh, mom, did you check this? Did you check this? My older siblings will just be like, I beg. But I look for everything, and she's come to appreciate that. So even sometimes when we're having meetings and I'm quiet, they will intentionally ask, Oyinkan, what do you think? And I will deliver it as kindly as, possible that, this is my thought. I share a different opinion. And another word I don't use at meetings or whatever is the word I disagree. Yes, I personally have a challenge with that word, and I suspect that when the observation I've had with other people, they have a challenge with it, but I'm not sure they know why they have a challenge with it. And here is my definition of I disagree. I think that every time you say you disagree, somebody has already said something and you do not align with that thought, which is fine. But you have not even said anything. Yet, you think that the unsaid statement in your head is better than what has already been said. So Praise has said something. I do not align with Praise's thought, but I'm here to say something. And I start my conversation with I disagree, which is the fact that what is here to be said is better than what is already said. I think it comes from a position of superiority complex. So instead of using the word I disagree, I simply have converted to it to I share a different opinion or a different perspective.
Good, Onyeko. Thank you very much. I mean, Onyeko shared the principle that I want you guys to note as saviors. And I think it was something I applied to someone here, one of our saviors here, who was trying to function within a system. And she was even looking to pay for paid employment within the system. And, they just kept dilly-dallying. And I said to her, why are you trying to find expression here? Nobody's going to respect you here. Go make your name for yourself out there. Your signal will now find its way there. And in the not to lose you, they will lay claim to you and they'll be forced to bring you back. That has been our experience right now. And, the amount she wanted to be earning there, it's what she will give away right now, because now she does way above, so one of the things you have dropped, which is so critical, is that people need to first go and succeed.
Yeah.
Because your success will be loud enough for people to now invite you to say, you know what, I think your opinion counts. I mean, it's like a poor man who is trying to you advise people. My friend says that everybody has a voice, but money is the volume. And that's so true. Now, a lot of people, when you call, maybe by the reason of how they were raised, because we need to look at it. They want to break free, to live life without apologies, but they don't know how. They are 40, they are 30, they deep down. I mean, and I've seen it. A lot of people have something else deep down. Even when the leader is talking, they know that the man is wrong, but they can't voice it out. They are afraid. Their voice have been suppressed by their parents, by the environment. So there are people who are 30, 40, 50. They don't even know where to start from. What's your advice? Where can people hear? So I want to now live life without apologies from today. What's the first step? Where do I start from?
Awesome. I think the first step and where to start from is to identify somebody you would want to learn from and go ahead and pay the person for their service. One thing I've come to understand is that there is a level of depth you will not access for free. There's a level of influence you will not access for free. I've known Praise since Praise, even part of the testimony he shares will be when he had just 5 shirts. And I remember in Surulere when we used to have, thank God it's Friday, chicken, tasty fried chicken, fish, and those things, and I remember when I used to even help him sell his books. I didn't have books at that time. I would go and speak. I was the head of national outreach in my church. I would take his books on sex, to go and sell, and I'll remit the money back to him. I remember when he did Center for Sex Education, I think LCCI Agidingbi or something. I was part of the people there. I'm saying all of this because anybody will see Presowe and what he's doing at the Engineering Institute, and people will say, oh, I can do the same thing. No, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And if you desire to see the type of result that he has, one thing you should do is not to be to just be reading his WhatsApp messages, is to say to yourself that, you know what, I will be part of his premium tribe. I'll be part of his inner tribe or inner circle so that I can get as much as possible. I pay for coaching yearly and I have a huge budget for it because there's a way I desire to think. And if I do not have access to people who already think like that, there's a challenge. So no matter what, all of us have gone through some level of suppression. I remember when I was younger, they used to say to me that I used to talk a lot. Now I talk for a living. And all the people who used to yab me at that point are now collecting offering. But one thing they didn't know was, even though they were saying I used to talk a lot, my responsibility at that point was, it wasn't the length of the conversation, it was the meaning tied to the conversation. Talking is not a problem, just talk sense. And that is where I am now. So no matter where you are, if you feel suppressed, oppressed, or disturbed by culture, by parenting, anything, it's okay. All of us have what I call the story of your life. The story of your life are all of the things that you had no control over. Where you were born, who raised you, how you were raised. That's the story of your life. But there's a time your story of your life must expire for your life story to continue. Your life story is the story you are designing and writing yourself.
Mm.
You can't keep regurgitating the story of your life and never have a life story.
Mm.
You do not have any control over your past trauma, but healing is your responsibility.
True. True.
It is painful to admit, but that is the truth. And all of us have been traumatized. Praise shares his story and all of those things. There was a time he was talking to Ajegunle girls, and everybody couldn't understand that in everything going on in this world, it's Ajegunle Praise's destiny is tied to. So he wants to go and recover prostitutes. People like me just look at it. Praise you, dear bad. But that is his own life story. That's it. That's his life story. So all of us have gone through some level of pain. And to be very clear, we all have the fragments and whatever, but instead of the pain. So I would give an example. My father passed on about 3 weeks ago now. And I remember telling Praise when I was crying on one of the occasions. What made me cry was I always knew my father to be paralyzed. So my father had stroke. In my words, I thought he was 37 years. Apparently, he was 38. That was even before I was born at all. So I am 37. And my sister used to give me stories, about my dad on when they used to go out to play, to travel together, blah, blah, blah. I never understood because I saw him paralyzed. So every time she gave me the story, I could never connect. So when my father died, of course, we needed pictures for a lot of things. So somewhere along the line, my brother got his album from his house. We didn't used to stay together. And then I saw him as whole. So if you check my handles, you will see the pictures there. I saw him whole. It was the first time I was seeing him like standing and doing what we normally would do. And it was the first time also I understood my sister's context. Because every time she painted my father's picture, I never understood. So when I was mourning my father, my grief was in two ways. I had to break down my grief to myself. So that's how I understand a lot of things. I have to break down my grief to myself. My grief, first of all, was a grief tied to an emotional loss, even though there was physical presence. So even though my father was there, I wasn't fathered. So I had an emotional loss, first of all, even though there was a physical representation. Now, the next level of the grief was now the physical representation has been taken away. So there was the emotional and there was the physical. So I was now coming to terms with the pain of not being fathered. And even though I wasn't fathered, I had to take responsibility for someone who never took responsibility for me. So that means that even though my father did not have the capacity to father me, I was forced to have the capacity to be his child. So I was forced to love him. I was forced to provide for him. It is easier to provide for a parent who parented you and loved you and was there for you. It is more difficult to be a child to somebody who was never there for you. And it is not that even though they were ill, they didn't have the capacity or whatever it was, but the fact that you didn't have a hand in this pain, how come you are responsible for the pain? Then my own position in people's lives also differ. So people see me as a pastor sometimes. So I have the spiritual title. People see me emotional, whatever. I have the emotional title. Then people think I have some money. So for me, at every point in time, you will still find a way to place a demand on me. So I was so for my father, for example, before he passed, there were years that my father was on admission for 9 months. And I would be the only sibling in Nigeria. And I have to keep paying him a visit. And remember, I do not have an emotional connection with him. I am creating this scenario because all of us have the story of our lives that are painful to us and we are going through the healing process or we have even healed from. But it is our responsibility to craft our life story. And from wherever you are, one key way to start is to identify someone that you respect how the person thinks, how the person feels, and how the person acts. It is not to be like the person or to be a clone of the person. But if you appreciate a person's thought pattern and their results at their level, as much as possible, pay for it. People say to me, is coaching is expensive. And I say to them, coaching is expensive compared to what?
Mm.
Do you know how expensive it is for you not to be coached?
Mm.
Do you know the indirect and intangible losses you can't put numbers on?
Mm.
I said, and sometimes people say to me, therapy is expensive. I said, coffins are more expensive. The grief period that you will never come out of, more expensive. So when somebody says that you should drop your 25-year-old pain for $500, you know what they are telling you to do? They want to give you beauty for ashes. They are taking 25 years of pain to give you 2 hours of their time for a breakthrough. I said, if I were you, I will borrow the money. I will jump at it. Because if you know you will get the results, there were times that people like me sold things to educate themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I lived in Motion till 2018, like till 3 years ago. I sold my gold jewelry to educate myself when I went to coaching academy in London. I sold my fridge to buy a course. Like, I've sold things so that my brain will not be empty.
Mm.
So wherever you are, please start today. Get PF on DM, whatever it is, that can you please work with me for the next 6 months, for the next 9 months? And these are the reasons why I need you in my inner circle. These are the things I desire to achieve. This is my budget. This is how much I can pay. I will look for the money to balance, but this is what I have. Please start with me. Like, please do not step into 2022 with a story of because of my background, because of my past.
Mm.
No, please let it expire. I beg you.
Thank you very much, Onyeko. I'm going to ask you one question, but you touched on a fundamental thing. What I found out is the story of people's past, the story of the pain, sometimes becomes a strategy that they are falling in love with that attracts people to them. That the only time they have a semblance of love is when they continue to share that story. So it becomes a strategy and I'm glad that you really, really addressed that, because people need to snap out of, oh, it happened to me 10 years ago. It happened since if we all dwell on what happened to us, nobody will move forward. I can tell tales of stories, but we need to take responsibility. Now, the fundamental issue I want you to address is the place of fear. You work with people at the emotions level. People are afraid that if I start to live life on my terms, I'm going to lose an audience. It was something I had to process, to say, what's the worst thing that can happen? But I also had to ask myself, what's the cost of not living out me? What's the cost of not speaking my truth? Will I sit down somewhere and people are saying prayer is the way to make Nigeria great, and I know no nation has become great by gathering prayer meeting, and would I be fear to my conscience, to my personality, by joining to say to people that is what will make Nigeria great, when I know thinking and action is what we need to do? But it would look as if maybe some of us, maybe by the virtue of our personality, that's what people will say, we are fearless and things. But I used to be timid as well. We used to be timid. You were there. How can people overcome fear? What they're afraid of? The fact that, oh, somebody I love. I was talking to one of my mentees today who is going for ordination today. She should not go for that ordination. She knows. But she's afraid. What will the man say? He's paying my support all this while, and she knows. But I told her, whatever decision you take is your choice. You have my support. But based on what is on ground, I don't think this is what you should do. How do people overcome fear? Fear of the people they respect, fear of the people they've been with, fear of what has served as a support system, fear of what if I now break free and now fail. I remember when I was living where I used to be years ago, and they told me, if you leave, you may die. And those kind of fear. If I had died, sorry, they would have been justified to say, and I would have been part of their statistic to say, we told him not to go, but he went. So the people have those things playing up on their head. How do they overcome that fear?
Fantastic. One thing I want us to know, I'll say it in 3 layers, is the first thing is that all of us have this iota of fear. Because one thing I need us to be conscious about is we've not all been in this world before.
Hmm.
It's our first time.
Hmm.
So nobody has a template. Even the futurists couldn't see the pandemic.
Aha.
Maybe it
Hmm.
is the pandemic you have experienced that you will foresee.
Hmm.
When the pandemic came in like a flood, everybody was isolated.
Hmm.
you know. Now you can foresee another pandemic. You know why? Experience.
Hmm.
So all of us taste fear. We may not admit it, but we all taste it because we've not lived here before.
Hmm.
The second thing is that your fear is valid. The message fear delivers to us every time, because emotions are messengers. Every
Hmm.
time is that something is about to happen and we may be at risk.
Hmm.
We may be at risk, something is about to happen. It is now your responsibility. So I remember when I was leaving one of the churches I used to work at, and I was categorically told, that they see me as a pastor, not as a business person.
Hmm.
And one of them categorically told me I wasn't going to succeed.
Wow.
And instead of me crying over it, I remember going home that day, I made a pot of beans and plantain. And while I was eating, I told myself that I owe myself success.
Hmm.
When you are fatherless,
Hmm.
you can't afford not to have sense.
Hmm.
You know, when you are from a rich home, senselessness is okay.
Hmm.
When you are fatherless and there's no will with your name in it, you know that you are on this world as a one-man army.
Hmm.
So as I was eating my beans and plantain in Mushi, and the next door to our house happens to be a club, and they will play songs I wasn't interested in. In fact, in my head was a DJ, not by willful submission, but because of the club beside us, they used to give us free music.
Hmm.
I told myself that I must succeed. And the first thing I did was to start Merchants of Romance, a
Hmm.
surprise gift delivery company and all of that. It was Merchants of Romance that brought me into emotional intelligence. And what that means is that while I was delivering gifts to couples, I saw that couples had deeper problems
Hmm.
that gifts could not solve. And I started finding out what the issues were. And I saw that the issues were tied to so many things: beliefs, lack of conflict resolution, this and that. And I said, you know what? Here we go. And I got back to my first love, which happens to be psychology. So your fear is valid. Fear just simply means that something is about to happen that your sensory system is saying to you may be an unpleasant experience.
Hmm.
What you should, however, do, like I said, is to have a coach in your corner so that you can define what exactly you want. All of us are failing forward. What that means is there are so many businesses that we've started that didn't succeed, and we have moved on to concentrate on what is succeeding. There are so many ideas that we've launched that didn't succeed, and we are focusing on the ones that are succeeding. So, what you must know is that you are not the only one who is tasting fear. We all do. But beyond that, we are ensuring that. And another thing about fear is tied to the scripture that says, those that know their God shall be strong and they will do exploits. I found out that exploit is tied to strength,
Mhm.
and strength is tied to knowledge.
Hmm.
There's a level of boldness you may not attain if you second guess your capacity and expertise.
True.
Praise and I have gigs that we do together. And we say to ourselves, we're not honoring another meeting and we're not going to reduce our prices. You know the reason why? We know what we know. About 10, 15 years ago, the slogan might have changed to at all, naim bad.
Mhm. Hmm.
At all, naim. Now, it's not at all, naim bad. No, we have paid our dues.
Mhm.
And if you don't respect it, it's fine. But we respect it and we know. So what am I saying? Sometimes your fear is from the fact that you don't feel like you know enough. And instead of being scared, what you should do is to hype up your knowledge. And in hyping up your knowledge, you must trade something for something. If you always watch Netflix 4 hours a day and you think that, okay, you can afford to beyond watching Netflix, except you are learning on it, maybe videos, at documentaries, those things. What else can you read? Where else can you do? YouTube is a university and an institution on its own. You will sit down and attack your fear with knowledge. What you see Elon Musk do is not from a place of insecurity. That guy is a knowledgeable dude. Someone who will just tweet and the entire market will scatter. Praise, you know that I saw a particular Tesla in Texas and I spoke in tongues. So I've been seeing Teslas, but this one is evil. The Tesla was baked. You know what it is to pimp a car? I saw a baked Tesla. You know, I spoke in tongues till a white person beside me started laughing. I'm not sure she knew what I was doing. And the tongues, honestly, was not prayer. You know, when you can't say, fuck, you know, when some vocabularies are not in your mouth, you know, instead of the F word, I had to speak in tongues. I was like, brakadalibo, you know, like, what? That is somebody's head. The irony is that some of us lay claim to the mind of God, but our results do not look like what God can do. And some do not lay claim to anything. They worship the universe. And their result is from the God who created the heaven and earth. So what am I saying? Fear is valid, but hand over yourself and your fear to a life coach. I wish people understood the power of coaching. Everybody listening to me, if you are not working with praise at a paid level or the other, honestly, you are missing out. I have known praise for about 20 years. And be assured that if he is not someone that I respect or whatever, you know, you can farms people and ensure that you are not close to them. Don't be farms in them. I beg, don't stain my white. You know, but I have consistently seen the value his head turns out. I remember having a conversation with him, I think it was last week or something, about something I wanted to start. And he was like, oh, you know, we keep thinking in the same direction, you know, and those things. And it comes with work. If you see his models, all the things he's come out with, it comes with work. Both of us are abroad now in a new territory, carving our territory in this territory. And it comes with a whole lot of things. So please, that story that you are used to, that looks like your comfort zone, ensure that in 2022, you are no longer living a life of comfort and pity and all of those stories that just make you look like, oh, queen, queen, queen. Please embrace change. And change may be difficult, but be assured that once you start and you get on the journey. So I remember when I was transiting, doing series of things, blah, 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 blah. It was very difficult in the beginning. Now, you will not necessarily look for clients, even though you're advertising and doing the normal things. Your name, your credibility, your equity will pave a way for you. Once people hear your name, they say, oh, okay, yeah, I've heard about him, I've heard about him, I've heard about him. And you will begin to negotiate. In fact, you will get to a point where you will be choosing who you want to work with. There are some people that I will not work with. You know the reason why? Because they don't really want the change. They just want my name in their corner. They just want to be using my name as their coach, but they don't want to be committed to the pain of that will deliver the results that they desire. So I know how comfortable the story is. So imagine if I had a story of, oh, I wasn't fathered, my father was this, my father was that, that's the reason why I'm like this, that's the reason why I'm like that. And I stopped there. And I've shared my story of how I started, you know, and embarked on the journey of loving my dad and all of those things. So instead of the pain that should have destroyed me and kept me in bitterness and resentment and those things, I used that pain because there was something that my father did when I was young, and it is the only thing I remember him for. There are some people who have beautiful relationships about their dad, you know. I have one, but I am grateful for the one. The one is my father taught me how to read, meaning he would give me books when I was young, and he would tell me that if I finish the book, he would give me a gift. I read to a point where I stopped asking him for the gifts because I was now in love with reading. So I am grateful for the bookworm or nerd that I have become. It came through my dad. And my mom also was an educationist. She retired as a director at WAEC. So I was raised by teachers. My father was a doctor.
Mm.
So fear is valid. Please get a coach in your corner. And finally, is you need to sit yourself down to confront yourself to say that, you know what, I love the story of my life. And it has provided an anchor, and I'm becoming, I'm getting used to being in love with it. However, this story needs to expire. I need to embrace the next stage of my life. Even though I am scared, even though I am fearful, I will do it anyway.
Mhm.
And I have just an option. I must succeed.
Mm.
I must succeed. Because if I know what I am doing, I will have strength and I will do exploits. I must succeed. You must be that tough on your mind, on yourself, and be assured that some of us have done it before and
Mhm.
we are still doing it.
Mm.
And we will get the results that we want to get. Before the session started, we're having a creed. We also have affirmations at our meeting that I even created. So when Praise sent a message and said, "Oh, we have a creed," I just smiled. I'm like, it's like Praise, and I should just swap Praise. And that's what it is. Because we also have the affirmation. I have a session in 2 hours, which is with my paid tribe, and we start with that. So when he told me, I was just like, it's like I should not give praise my head. You just be using it with his own and return it so that his own head will be in my own. But that's what it is.
Mm. Well, you can thank you very much. There was something you touched on, which I, for emphasis sake, she's actually touched on it about you becoming formidable. If you have any question, you can raise your hand. Might be able to take one or two before we allow you can go. But is the word anointing one of the most bastardized words in Africa? The word anointing is not a religious word. Anointing is an English word. If you check anointing, even from the Bible word, is the word empowerment. It's not oil. Because of the anointing, yokes are destroyed. There's a story to it. The Jews plow their farm with oxen. So they put a yoke on the neck of the oxen. The yoke has no key. When they finish plowing, there's no way to remove the yoke. So what they do is they feed the oxen and the neck becomes fatter than the yoke. Once the neck outgrows the yoke naturally breaks. So there is no pouring of oil that will put knowledge to your head. No, it's just symbolic to say, go and activate. Anointing is empower yourself in your area of weakness. Become formidable so that the yoke can break. That's what Onyeko has just told you. And I hope as we go into the new year, we don't make that error again and submit your head to all kinds of oil that doesn't do you any value. Is there anybody with a question before I ask my final question? Because, I must confess, I had to bully Onyeko to come here. She doesn't respond to 24-hour, invitation, but I can do it because she has done it for me. So it's retaliation. It's 1-1. Okay. But I really have to appreciate her for obliging us to come and share from a world of knowledge. Does anybody have a question before I ask my final question? Okay, there's no question. 2022 is almost here. There's going to be all kinds of crossover, prophetic declaration for the year. This year is our year of undulating, is our year of whatever. What's your word for our saviors as we get into 2022 on, living without apologies? What's your final word?
Fantastic. Any crossover without a mental crossover is a change of date.
Hmm. Please type that, guys.
Any crossover without a mental crossover. So I'll be talking to my tribe today about preparing for 2022, and it is the beginning of the conversation with them. Any crossover without a mental crossover is a change of date. I stopped going to any worship center on the 31st because 31st night I ensure. So I would have done my mental crossover before that time, but when the world is now doing something, you just feel like, okay, so I will check my diary and ask myself, what must I do differently? And I break down. So I'm one person that one thing I do every year is I have one major goal. So I don't have a lot of goals for the year. I have one major goal and then I have quarterly goals. So I have a major goal and then I have quarterly goals. So I have 3 mini quarterly goals, but one major goal. And sometimes one major goal can be finish my PhD, do this, do that. You are the one who will know the major goal. But in 2022, if you were to restart your life, what will you do differently in 2022? So if you are starting life afresh, what are the things you would do differently in 2022? So I have noted down what I would do differently if I was starting my life afresh. I've noted those things down. Please do not go, because by the time you are doing crossover in your country, some countries have crossed over. Some of us are yet to cross over. So you can see that this 31st, whatever, is just an emotional drama to contain your excitement. And once 1st of January starts, the competition starts again. But you must have delivered yourself from the expectations of men and competition. What must you achieve between January and March, between April and July? You will break them down into what you can monitor. Please don't begin to create agendas, by Kinikoga, I must go to the moon, I must go to the sun. If you are close to it, fantastic. Don't create any agenda you can't achieve, please. Let's be very normal. Let's be normal in whatever we're looking for. I remember in 2018 when I was in Mushin, I just told myself that this year I must leave this city, this particular Mushin horizon. I have expired here. And the day I knew I had expired was that I would travel out. And when I return and I'm going back home, I'm scared, because my neighbors already know that I travel out a lot. So I'm like, before they come and rob or kill or whatever, I'm like, no, 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 no. I can't be living in fear. And I told myself, and I left that place for Bagada. And I was in Bagada for 2 years. When I was moving into Bagada, I told myself that I am here for 2 years. This is the max. And I left Bagada 18 months after. Because once I make my goal, I am committed to it. And I ask myself simple questions. How much must I make monthly? And to make this amount, what are the products and services I must sell? Who am I selling them to? Those are practical things. Who am I selling them to? What is my selling story? Who is my client? What's their age range? Why would they buy from me? What do they need me for? Sometimes we are selling things to people who don't need us. There are some people that you are their savior. Go and look for them. They have been praying all their life to encounter you, but they don't know that you are their savior because they don't even know who you are, what you have, what you carry, what you can offer. So please, the new year has arrived, but the change and what we need to do starts from mental. Once you can change the content in your mind, you will change your world. You will change your world.
Wow, Onyekon, thank you very much. I mean, I didn't even know that you guys are having how to move to 2022 in your tribe, because this evening we also have how people can script themselves. Basic knowledge, just helping them audit how far their declaration has gone this year and stuff. Thank you very much, Onyekon. I mean, you've had her. I don't know what else to say to Onyekon. I mean, each time I see her, my mind is still on that little girl that walked in that year, and it helps me appreciate her more because I have seen.
Chris has seen me finish. I'm telling you.
I have seen you finish. I have seen her grow. She has seen me grow, and I'm super proud. I mean, we're in the same city. I mean, we check notes all the time, and we share notes. If I know something, I'll tell her. If she knows something, she will tell me. If there's an opportunity, we're always sharing. Find correct people who have brains, in your life, and trust me, your life will totally transform. One of the things I've realized is Nigeria can make it look like you are doing well, and appreciate that, right? But you need to be in Nigeria, but not of Nigeria, right? Dixon said, be in the world, not of the world. If you are of Nigeria, you're going to be messed up. Dubai just announced today that they've now successfully achieved a paperless society, right? They just announced this morning, they've successfully achieved a paper. They are not doing meeting. They are not chanting whatever God cannot do does not. In fact, whatever man cannot do does not exist. Or whatever God cannot do through man does not exist. You need to be real and appropriate that quote properly. Very key. So that you don't just live your life and you are complaining and things like that. Thank you very much, Onye Consola, for that's your food that you cooked and you used to taunt me. You only send me pictures. I'm coming for you this week. Okay. God help you if I don't meet that chicken. Okay, thank you very
It's
much
still there.
for calling. God bless you.
Thank
Your
you,
friends,
Pastor
please, you can take it over. And by the way, we made this meeting free for you. I mean, because it's something we can give back. And when we say people should give, to support it, it's not really because, and she talked about it. We didn't even discuss it. Ask yourself how much would you pay for this value? And that's the minimum you should do to support whatever is happening here. I'm done. God bless you.
I am praised for warfare.